all about the Power Platform. So as you can see, we've had some previous webinars, and these have just been all intro into each Power Automate, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI. And today Stella is going to talk more about getting started with Power BI and what that looks like. But we do have more going in depth with chatbots, Copilot, InfoPath, just to give you more in depth and more technical resources when it comes to the Power Platform. And before I pass it to Stella for today's agenda, I just want to let you know, please feel free to unmute and ask a question or put it in the chat. This is for you guys to learn. And so we want to make sure you get as much out of it as possible. So don't be shy. Okay, go ahead, Stella.
Awesome. So today, thanks for joining us today. We're going to be walking over some things in Power BI. So we're going to talk about how to connect to data source. We'll import data into Power BI. We'll transform that data and analyze it. And then we'll go ahead and use that data to design engaging and interactive visualizations. And then lastly, we'll publish the report to a Power BI Workspace. So real quickly, what is Power BI? Power BI is a Microsoft tool that combines business analytics, data visualization, and best practices to help organizations make data-driven decisions. How do we access Power BI or view Power BI reports? So there's 3 methods to do this. So our first method is going to be the website, which is called Power BI Service. There's a desktop app, which is called Power BI Desktop. And then we also have the mobile app as well, which can be used for viewing reports. Just a little bit more on Power BI. Here's some points that we can use Power BI for. Once again, data analytics, visualizations. There is an on-premises reporting with Power BI Report Server to keep them private, business analytics, and ultimately it encourages data-driven decisions. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can dive. Oh, here are 2 examples of Power BI reports that Marquee specifically has. So we'll look at designing some of the visuals in here in addition to some new ones as well. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into the demo now. So from any Microsoft site or browser that you have open here, you can use the waffle in the top left corner. And if you've opened Power BI recently, you can see that the Power BI app will be here. Now, if you haven't opened the Power BI app recently, we can go to More Apps. We can go down to our Productivity Center, locate Power BI, and open it from here. Now, there's multiple ways you can navigate to the website, and one is also just to head to your Microsoft 365 apps and add it from there as well. So if another way to get there also is you can just manually type in, as we can see here, we can manually just type in app.powerbi.com in a browser, and it will take you to this page here, Power BI Home. From the Power BI Home, we can actually select Workspaces here in our bottom left to show that we're in My Workspace. Now, what are workspaces? Workspaces are a way to organize your report packs and share your reports with different users. So it's a way to kind of categorize them and bulk them into different areas. So if you wanted, so in addition to the website, there's a desktop app that we use to build reports. And one location you can download the Power BI desktop is through the Microsoft App Store. In addition to that, you can also go to powerbi.microsoft.com, which takes you to this page here where we can select Get Started and download the app, the desktop app. After downloading the desktop app, when you open it, it should look like this. Now we're going to create a new report from scratch. So we're going to want to select New right here from the top. So we're going to select Blank Report. And it's going to take us to this page here. Now we're being prompted to add some data. So that's our first step that we need to do. Sorry, my screen just froze on me. So first thing we need to do is add some data. So we're actually going to go ahead and use sample data from here. We're going to load our sample data. Now we're going to go ahead and select both checkboxes here. We can see the data that it's providing us here. And we're going to go ahead and select load. Now this is just data that Microsoft provides us for creating some sample reports. Now it's loading our data here, and on the next screen, we're going to see an area for us to build our visuals with our data. So here we go. Now we're on our screen where we can build visuals with data. But first, before we start building those visuals, we're going to want to go ahead and manipulate some of our data. So the easiest way to do that, and actually if we wanted to, for example, import data from somewhere else, we would go to get data here, and we would select our data source. So for example, it could be Excel, could be a website, it could be Dataverse, which would be from Power Apps, or it could be CSV as well. So since we already have our data, we're going to go ahead and manipulate. We're going to want to make changes to that data before we start making visuals. So we're going to want to select transform data from the top here and select transform data. This screen pops up here where we can see all of our data. We can see here, if we click on each one, we can see the different types of data. And as we scroll across here, we can see the different types. Now, let's say we want to add a column, for example, that were to sum or be a calculation of two other columns, or we just want to add a column in general. To do that, we can come up here to the top from our toolbar and select add column. And we're going to want to select custom column. Now we can see here that this has popped up, and it's going to prompt us to name our column. So, quick note, right now we're in Power Query, which is the screen that popped up, and Power Query is a data manipulation tool that you can use to add, delete, or otherwise manipulate your data that you're importing. Now that we have this, we're going to add a column, and from here we can set the name, comma, and formula of our custom column. So I'm going to go ahead and just sum up two of my existing fields. For example, let's do and then from here I can select sale price, insert it. And now I can press OK. And my new column was added here with the math that I did. Now to delete a column, we would simply right click on the column header and select remove. After we've finished manipulating our data, we can go to home here and select close and apply. When modifying or loading large sets of data, it may take longer to close and apply your changes. So now that we have our data ready to go, let's go ahead and build our report and add some visuals. So on the right side here, we can see an area where it says visualization pane and data. So if we expand these, we can see our data sets here, and we're actually going to be dragging and dropping these values from here directly into here as we create our visuals. So before we start adding visuals, let's go ahead and add a title to our report. You can do that by selecting text box here from the top. I'm going to go ahead and call this Stella's report. Now I'm going to make my text larger, make it blue. I'm going to go ahead and format it and center my title. And then I'm going to drag it here to the middle. Now from the effects area here, from the visualization pane here, we can go to effects, and I can actually add a background color to it. And maybe make my font a little bit lighter. Okay. So now that I have my title, let's go ahead and add some visuals. Now, obviously, the type of visuals we want to add or create depend on the type of data we imported. So for example, some data may be better displayed as a bar chart versus a scatter plot. Fortunately, Power BI includes both of these visual types, plus many more advanced visuals. So let's go ahead and start by adding a stacked area chart. So within the visuals pane here, as we hover each one of these, we can see the kind it is. So we're going to go ahead and add a stacked area chart here. And now I can drag and drop this wherever I want on the report. But first, let's go ahead and add some data. So as I said earlier, we can drag and drop these fields, whether we from this one or this one, directly into the field. So for our x-axis, let's go ahead and add quarter under dates. So under dates, we can expand this here. You can see date hierarchy, and it gives it to us in some of the year, quarter, month, and day. For the purpose of this visual, I want to see the quarter on the x-axis. So I'm going to take it and simply drag and drop it on the x-axis here. Now for the y-axis, let's go ahead and add our sum of sales, which is up here. Once again, I can simply drag and drop it into the y-axis. And now I have my visual. Now we can see here that obviously the sum of sales is not in currency when it should be. So let's go ahead and update that as well. To do that, I would select on sum of sales here from the data pane, and we're going to see if the toolbar is going to change up here. So I can now select the currency sign, and I can see that it added it as a currency here. I can also sort my access here by quarter. That's already sorted from 1 to 4. And if I wanted to make some changes to my title, I could do that under the format visual area here. In general here, I could go to title, and I could center my title and even make it a different color as well. So now that we've added our stacked area chart, let's go ahead and add a stacked column chart. So I'm going to go ahead and move this report right here, and we're going to pick stacked column chart, which is right here. Once again, I'm going to want to make sure I'm not selected on my visual. If I were selected on my visual here and I selected one of these, it would try and change the data to display in this format, which we don't want. So we're going to want to make sure we're clicked off the image and then go ahead and click on stacked column chart. Let's go ahead and drag and drop this visual over here. And for this one, I actually want to see all of the months on the x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and take the month name filter here and drop it on the x-axis. On the y-axis, I want to see the sum of the profits. So we'll go ahead and drop this on the y-axis. Now, once again, we need to update our currency here. So we can do that by selecting the sum of profits here and making it a currency. Another thing here is that we can see that our months are not in order. So to get them in order, we would go to sort access here, select on month name. And now we can see that I put it in alphabetical order. I'm going to go ahead and sort by ascending. And now I'm going to want to select month name, sort by column, and select month number. Now we can see that my months are in order from January to December. And if I decide to sort access by descending, it's going to go December to January the opposite way. So we'll keep it January to December here. And once again, I can expand this by making it bigger or smaller. Now, once again, if I wanted to make some updates to my title here, I could go to the format visual area here. Under general, we can go to title, and align it, and I can also make it a different text color as well. So for the x-axis title here, we can also do this by changing the color. Font name. And same thing for our y-axis legend as well. You can also update the font and the size of it as well here too. So for our next visual, we are going to add a pie chart. So once again, let's click off of our image here and select the pie chart visual here. As you can see, we also have the option of a donut chart. And for today, we're going to stick with the pie chart. So once again, select pie chart here. Here's our visual. Let's go ahead and put it more in the center. And as our legend here, we're going to go ahead and add profit. I'm sorry, we're actually going to add product makes more sense. Let's add product here. And then let's add profit as our value. Great. So now we can see that we have our pie chart here. And with the pie chart, we actually have many different visual options. So for example, we could center this on top or on bottom. We can decide to see these here within the pie chart or without. And we can also see different categorizations, such as the category or more details or less. So to do that, we're going to go to Format Visual here. Under Visuals, we're going to go to under Slices. And from here, we can pick a color for each of ours. So let's go ahead and change this more to a pastel for each of these colors. That looks a lot like the other one, so we'll go ahead and make this maybe a dark gray. Okay, so now we can see here this has been updated as well. And now let's go ahead and update our detail labels. So on the detail labels here, we can see the position on the outside, but we can also say we want it on the inside. Alternatively, we can say that we prefer it to be on the outside, but in instances where it gets very tight here, it will account for it by putting it on the inside. Once again, here, when we hover over this, we can see that the sum is showing with many decimal places, but it is showing in currency. So to update that, the way it's showing, we go to here, sum of profit, and change it to two decimal places here. Now, when I hover over this value, it's showing it to me in 2 decimal places rather than all of those decimal places before. Once again, click on our visual. We can go to Format Visual here. We can go to General. We can take the title. We can center the title and change the color as well. We can also take the subtitle here. And we can change our detail labels as well. As we can see here, we can see all the details, which has the category, the amount, and the percentage. Or we can simply choose to see just the category. We can choose to see the category with the data value or the percent of total. And then when we hover over this visual, we can still see the specific sum of profit as well. So from the visual here, legend, we can see that the position of this is right now is center right. We can change this by going center, top center, moving our legend there, or we can also put it in the bottom center as well. I can see the title here, which is product, which I can change this, for example, to say category if I wanted to for the purpose of this visual. I can change the color as well. As we can see here, it gives me an area here to see the other categories because it's not long enough. Or I could simply make this a little bit longer so it always shows all the legends as well. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, so I'm done with my pie chart now. And for our last visual, let's go ahead and create a table. So to add a table, I'm going to go ahead and move this up a little bit, make some more room for our table. So to add a table, we're going to simply select table from here. So again, I can drag and drop my visual and extend this a little bit since I'm going to add multiple columns. And then we can start simply dragging and dropping our columns from here. So the first thing I want to show is product. So I can go ahead and drag and drop that there. And then I want to show sum of sales. So again, if I wanted to change the order of this, I can simply do that by dragging and dropping here to different orders. I can also remove a column here by selecting the X. Similarly, if I don't want this to say sum of sales, I can change and rename this as well to say rename for this visual and just to say sales. I'm going to go ahead and also add some of discounts. Some of units sold. And some of profits as well. Now we can see here that some of them are in currency, some of them are not. So let's go ahead and see. So sum of units sold. If this was a sum of discounts as well, we can go ahead and select from sum of discounts here. At the top, we can make this a $sign. And it looks like one of our values is not to the second decimal place, so we'll go ahead and apply that for all of them. Same thing here for sum of sales. We're going to want to change this to 2 decimal places. It's already a $sign. Sum of units sold, 2 decimal places. And let's make it a $sign. And it looks like our sum of profit already is. So let's go ahead and do some editing now. So as we can see here, when we click on this visual, it's going to sort by ascending or descending order for any of our columns. Products similarly of alphanumerically. Once again, to update our look of this, we can go to Format Visual here. We can go to Column Headers here, and let's go ahead and add a background color of navy and make the text color white. Bold it as well, and go ahead and center all of these too. Now for the sum of units sold, it looks like a lot, so let's go ahead and rename this visual as well. And sum of discounts as well. Now we have our visual, and we can make it bigger by simply increasing the columns here. Now, if we wanted to make this table smaller, we could do so, and it would automatically add a scroll bar at the bottom. So as you can see here, I can actually make this smaller and make it scrollable. And once again, to continue adding columns, we could do so by here. Okay, so now that we have our visuals made, let's go ahead and center them. All right, so now for the exciting part, now that we have our reports built, we can see now that let's interact with our visuals. So we can see that by clicking one area of a visual, it's automatically going to change the other visuals to display the same selected data. So for example, if we select on Paseo here, we can see that it's showing me Paseo here specifically, but also my other tables. So now it's showing me the sum of sales by quarter for Paseo specifically. And I can see here that how Paseo is showing compared to the rest of the columns. Same thing here, this table, if the product is now only showing me Paseo for all the months. And I can actually hold control if I want to see 2 different values, hold control and select another value. So now we can see here I'm seeing Paseo and Velo. And I can continue to hold control and add as many as I want. And I can hold control and unselect Paseo, and it keeps Velo selected. Now I can do this on any visuals. So I can simply select this, unselect it. Now my visuals are normal, but I can select May as well. And now it's going to populate the rest of my visuals. As we can see, May is in Q2. December would be in Q4. So now it's only showing the month December, and this is showing me the specifics for December as well. So now that we have finished building our report and our visuals, we are going to publish our report. So we do that by selecting publish here from the top. Now this is the new report that I've created, so I'm going to want to go ahead and save it to a location on my folders. And now what this is going to do is going to create a new report in whatever report pack I choose to save it into. So I'm going to want to save this to Stella Fabric here. And now it's publishing my report. After it finishes publishing my report, it's going to provide me with a link where I can open my report in a browser to see it, which is right here. So I can click on Open Stella's Report. And now it's going to open for me here in a browser. Now, since I own this report, it's going to say edit at the top, but I can simply share this report with other people. And when they get it, they will not be able to edit the report, but they will be able to do other cool things, such as subscribe to the report. So if it was linked to a data set that was continuously updating, such as an Excel sheet or a website, what we could do is it would continuously get updates based on that data set. And you can set a refresh schedule to refresh every 2 hours or as often as you want. You do have to be the report builder or the admin to set those settings. But you can share your report with anyone, and someone simply just has to be a viewer in order to have permission to view this report. We can export the entire report to PDF, PowerPoint, or Excel, or we could simply export the visuals. If I wanted to export a visual specifically, I could right-click this and say export data, and then I could choose to export to Excel here. Then it would export it to a pivot table in Excel for me to be able to do things to it. And once again, I can interact with my report the way I did before. So to subscribe to a report, I select subscribe report here, create a subscription. And I just realized we just ran out of time. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off back to Erin, see if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Stella. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask Stella while we have her?
Yes, just a quick one. Thanks, Stella. Could you please quickly show if you want to create like filters, let's say on this report, like maybe just one filter or so?
Yes, that's a great question. So here we have the filters on the page here on the right. So let's say I wanted to, instead of like interacting with my visual to select Paseo, let's say I wanted to have a product as a filter. I would simply, once again, just drag and drop product into my filters on this page here. And we can see that all the values are going to show up. So this is a way of kind of doing unit testing to ensure that. And I can do that for any of them. So I can come here and say, for example, month name, I can drag and drop in here. And then it tells me the amount I have for each. So we can see that for the example product here. If I click on this, it's going to show my entire report just for this product. And we can go ahead and all you'd have to do if when you make changes to your report in the desktop, all you need to do is press this. It would save your changes. It saves it in the location. We're going to want to print to this. And now it's going to recognize the file name already exists here. So it's going to ask me to replace it. So here I'll just select. Since this already exists, do I want to replace it? Yes, I want to go ahead and replace it. It's already saved it in my file. And then once again, it's going to create that hyperlink for me. So I can copy this hyperlink and we can see that those filters are now applied. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and adding the filters is actually a simple thing that you can actually do on the web browser as well. So there's some things you have to do in the desktop app, but this is actually one of the things that you can go edit here. And you can just simply drag and drop them to add them as well. But now on my republished report here, we can see the filters are showing up. So I can filter by products. All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the session. Erin, you'll be sending this recording out, correct?
Yes. We'll be
Okay.
sending out the recording, and as always, if you all have any questions, need any help with the Power Platform, anything in your Microsoft 365 environment, please feel free to reach out and look out for more webinars.
Hey,
Thanks.
Stella, can I ask one more question, please?
Yeah, of course.
Just, do you find doing most of your report building to do it in the desktop version and not not online?
You know, it just really depends. Like the filter things I just added, that's so simple. I'll just do that in here. But the thing is that I did it and the change was obviously viewable here for me. But in order for it to be viewable to anyone that I had shared the app with, after doing any changes in here, you'd need to go to the workspace here and go to update the app. So you'd want to select on update app for those changes to actually take effect. So there's always a republishing that's necessary, even in the browser. So it just depends. It really just depends on the change that I'm making. But for the most part, I kind of live in the desktop app. But simple things like this, like adding filters, I think it's pretty doable and simple to do. You know, like I've added filters in the browser many times.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what we were finding. The desktop gave us a little bit more, but we were having a little trouble getting our desktop stuff back into our shared cloud site. So, okay, all right.
And Tim, we're always happy to help offline as well.
Yeah, we might look for help on that, but yeah, we're getting into it. So
Awesome.
Yeah, I personally, like, I love Excel, huge fan of Excel, but I just think the way that you can manipulate the data in Power BI and how easy you can create visuals, like without having to use a pivot table, it's just dragging and dropping data. I have found it to be my go-to over Excel when I'm creating presentation reports, just because of the ease of doing so and the fact that you can import data from Excel and so many different data sources.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I hope everyone has a great day.